Welcome on board to our next episode of Pharoscion Global promoting Vocal for Local, Atmanirbhar Bharat and Startup India campaign started by Union Government of India. And today we have Aarushi Sharma with ourselves from Mumbai. And she is my friend as well. And I thought that the time has come when people should be knowing about, because there has been a lot of talk about startup investment going down, and so many so-called news which is in the market, and I thought that who would be better than Arushi herself, who can enlighten us about what exactly is ongoing in the market. And I'm quite sure she will share her valuable experience of how startup owners can now think about their businesses and move ahead. So first of all, and obviously I'll give full opportunity to Arushi to talk about herself, her journey, and all. So without wasting time, Arushi, welcome on board, and thank you so much for providing us the time. And how are you feeling? How's it?
All good, all good. Thank you so much for inviting me and being here. So glad to be, finally doing a interview with you.
That's my pleasure. So, I have got few questions again from my team, and we decided that, let me ask those tough questions with you. And I'll begin with, but we'll start with few easy ones. So, enlighten us about yourself and, your journey, what you do, which can motivate, I'm so sure, which will motivate a lot of people.
So sure. So if I talk about my studies, I have completed my MBA in finance. During my studies itself, I did a couple of internship, which was not only in finance but also marketing and operations and HR. So got an overview of all the field and finally decided to work into finance domain. And just after completing my studies, I worked as a financial analyst for a year with an MNC, where we basically used to look after US mortgage loan. After that, worked there for a year. But after 6 months, I realized that this is not the place where I belong because it was all number crunching on Excel, and I am the kind of person who would like to go out there and meet people and interact with people. So that's when I figured out that VC is something that I want to enter into. Being part of startups, was volunteering with Head Start Network Foundation, so knew well about the ecosystem. So that's when I decided to get into a VC, and luckily got a call from venture catalyst one day and gave my interview, and they offered me a job on the spot and decided to go ahead with it. So been working here for now more than 2 years, and work here as an investment associate, where my major job is to interact with startups, evaluate them, and bring them on our platform.
So see how enlightening, your this session is gonna be. That sun is also all shower with its light, which is beautiful. So, what did you want, when you were a kid, what exactly you wanted to be? Like, I'm quite sure not be, not an employee of VC firm, and why you decided that, I would really like to be that particular. Because this will be very helpful again for a lot of kids as well.
So during my school days, I was really fascinated to become an astronaut. So maybe most probably because I read about Kalpana Chawla. Then we had a magazine which had a separate column about the galaxy, the stars and moons and so on. So it really fascinated me as a kid to become an astronaut. And I used to tell my mom that, I want to become an astronaut, but then you know how our Indian parents are. So yeah.
I should say high five, because even I wanted to be an astronaut, and same reason, like Kalpana Chawla, what a star she is. She's
Yeah.
big, so 100% I can relate with it. So, what's the most important thing you have learned, in your professional journey as of now? And let's say, what was your life before learning to it, so that maybe a benchmark, and that is like, okay, now I know how to do things. So would you like to talk about the one most important thing of your professional career which you have done?
So, one thing that I learned from my professional career is very important is to be patient. because the field I work in, you have to be very patient. Be it, getting a startup onboarded or understanding them, you need to give time to certain people. You need to understand them. So it's very important to be patient, not take decisions in very much hurry, because it could lead to a wrong decision in future. So you need to be very patient in general also, not just about my professional. I think in general also you have to be very patient. Sometimes some things actually take time, and we have to, give that time to certain things.
Absolutely, no denial of it. And who is your, like most influential person who might have motivated you to opt this journey? Because for a lot of startup owners, what they really want to understand is how these VC firms really work. And maybe like, will I get funding and all? So, who has influenced you to be part of this sector or this business particularly?
So I don't know who actually influenced me to be part of it, but I think certain things played a major role very well. So I started interning with a VC firm during my MBA itself, and
Okay.
then I joined this volunteer network organization, which is specifically for entrepreneurs, Head Start. So I think these two played a major key role for me to, get into the ecosystem,
Yeah.
and that's where I decided to be in the ecosystem. But working with venture capitalists, frankly speaking, I see Apurv sir as an influencer kind of personality which he has, because he have been very selective with the kind of startups he invests in. I don't know how he gets that kind of vision, and manages people, manages such big organization, and he have not been only doing it with one, but within a span of 6 years he is now soon going to start one more fund, which is like four companies he is working simultaneously, that too in same domain. So
Okay.
seeing him makes me feel like, oh my god, how he manages all this, it's hats off to him.
So, is it an indirect hint to a lot of startup owners who may be watching this that the time has come to ask for funding from your own firm?
Right. Exactly. If you need funding, we are the best people to provide you.
Perfect. That's good to know. So, like what's something very surprising in your sector, in your domain, from business perspective? Because I'm quite sure that, there will be a lot of surprise packages from startups perspective, their ideas perspective, but overall from operations perspective, are there any surprising moments, I should say, which might have come and you were like, oh my God, I didn't expected this.
Yeah, so when we what other people might think that we provide funds to a startup, so we might have a good chunk of money with us, and we might be making good amount of
I'm
profit,
sure you
but
have.
it is
I'm
not
100%
sure.
sure you have.
No, it's not that easy. It is also, we also consider ourselves as a startup, right? We are also evolving, growing, and making profits and reaching that line. It's not like from day one we have that kind of money and we are profitable. We as a VC firm also raise funds for ourselves. So it's not that, that people have that mentality that, a VC firm might be a profitable company from day one. No, it's not that way. We are also a startup. We are also building and learning.
Right. So it's like an institution which is providing
Right.
funds to startups is itself as a startup. That is, like the key takeaway, I should say. So,
Right.
like what have you learned, from like as you have been associated since long in this particular field that other people who, would like to be a part of your journey or would like to associate with the firm or maybe some other firm as well, they should be knowing before, they enter into this field.
Yes. So you need to have domain knowledge is one I feel is very important. You need to be, if you want to be a leader in a particular sector, be aware about that sector very well. If you want to be a sector agnostic person, then be aware about what is happening in the startup ecosystem. Awareness is really important, because you are going to evaluate those people who are building something big and they are way smarter than you,
Yeah.
and you have to be aware and conscious about happening in and around, so that you can help them understand better. You can know what are they speaking about. If you go blank in front of them, it won't work out, right? You need to know how their business function, how they are functioning. So having a specific sector knowledge is very very important, and being updated in the ecosystem is important, because every day something new is happening in the ecosystem. Someone is getting funded, someone company is getting shut down. So you need to understand what are the reasons behind it and keep yourself updated.
Absolutely. I think, this can be one of the key takeaways which, people must be taking forward from this interview. And, like, what is that biggest misconception, if I talk about, and if you can enlighten us, that, maybe a startup owner has, which he or she really needs to clear before, going ahead with funding and all. Would you like to talk about a bit as well? Like, okay, you have to take care of these things and get rid of this misconception particularly, because
Yes.
a lot is about
So,
getting funded nowadays. Yeah.
right. So, I'll talk first about the misconception part. Every founder thinks that if I am talking to an investor, he is an expert in the field. He
Yeah.
knows everything about it. But it's not true, right? We don't know. I feel the founder knows best about his business and not us. He's the person who can tell you everything, and we don't know about everything. We might not even know about the technology that you're building, but it's you as a person who needs to be able to understand, help make us understand in a layman language what you're trying to build, right? So you don't have to think that the person in front of you knows everything and he might ask you things which you also don't know. It never happens that way. You know everything about your business. You need to know everything about your business, and you have to have that confidence in place. Apart from that, if you're reaching out to any investor, you have to have your story clear in your mind. When I say the story talks about you as a person, what you're trying to build, basically what is the problem that you're trying to solve, and what market you're trying to capture, what are the business model, the financials. All of these things needs to be clear, because I am talking to a person who's building something, and if I ask you something and you go blank, it means you don't know about your own business,
Right.
which
Right.
acts as a red flag to us. So you are the king of your own business. You are the person who knows in and out of your business, but you should be able to make it able to understand to other person in simple terms what you're trying to build. That's
Okay.
it.
Okay. So that is actually very valuable, I should say. And like, so if money is not something which, let's say, VC firms are after, obviously they are after it. Let's be very practical. But apart from that as well, what are the things which investors actually look forward for from a startup who they are about to invest? Would you like to guide us on that as well a bit?
Yeah, sure. So for any VC firm, obviously they look at the money angle, or they look at how big the startup could become in future. But if being said that, we also have social entrepreneurs VC, right? VCs which are helping social entrepreneurs. So I think people who are trying to build some social change, helping them out, could also be an active thing which VCs, social VCs are trying to do, and I think which is amazing. But apart from that, I think people who are trying to build a real change in the world, those are the people we would love to support. If money was not a factor, we would have been looking at, because I have seen many social entrepreneurs who are trying to bring really good change into the society, and everyone needs some money. You cannot scale a business, you cannot work out without money.
True.
And I think there is a need of more social VCs coming in place, where this social entrepreneurs can actually grow.
Yeah. Absolutely, there's no denial of it. I do believe that social entrepreneurs, and particularly who are funding them, is itself a great job done initially itself. So like, if there are few advices which you would like to give to people who are just starting, maybe from finance perspective, like maybe you get funding now, how are you about to go ahead with expensing it as well? From expense perspective, what exactly people should be taking care of, let's say post funding and maybe pre funding as well, as a starting from starting something?
So
Maybe
pre-funding,
how can I
what you
be
need.
mindful about finance? I think I should be asking that particularly. Yeah.
Sure. So, when I speak about pre-funding, you need to be clear with your numbers that money that you're asking to raise, how you came up with that number,
Okay.
how you came up with that you would need XY amount of money
Yeah.
and this would be your expenses, how you came with that. You can't come and say, I need XYZ amount of money to give salaries to my employees. No one would give you money for
Right.
that,
Right.
right? So you need to understand why you need a particular amount of money and how you plan to distribute in the period of time. And also, when you go out and raise funds, people usually ask how long would this fund sustain for you. So, for example, if you're looking to raise 1 crore, how long would this fund last for you? You can say maybe 12 months, 8 months, whatever time period is. So, you need to have your financials in place, which justifies this, that this is how you plan to use your money, and you feel that 12 months is the timeline in which this money will get deployed. So you need to be very clear on your numbers. You need to work on it. You need to understand your expenses in next 12 months. We as a VC firms always tell founders to raise a little extra than what you are, predicting, because the expenses might be somewhere here and there. So that's there. Talking about post funding,
Yeah.
what happens is as soon as people see a lot of money, they tend to, not spend it wisely. So what happens many a times is, for example, if a founder is withdrawing X amount of salary, as soon as he gets funding, he or she starts withdrawing Y amount of salary, which is way higher and which is not needed at that point of time. So
Absolutely.
you need to understand, even if you have got external funding, it's your business that you need to scale. So you have to use your money really wisely. It's You have to understand that you don't have to deploy your money in next 1 or 2 months. You have to make it run till next 12 months. And seeing today's scenario, anything can happen. Like COVID hit, no one knew about it.
Right.
If you have not used your money wisely, you would have suffered a lot, right? It would have been a situation where you have to close down your business, correct? So you have to use your money wisely. Always have X amount in your bank account for some unforeseen circumstances,
True.
correct? So that is very very important. And if you have raised for 12 months, go out and market and start raising in next after 9 months itself, right? Because you need to understand that if you're raising for 12 months, it's not like after 12 months if you go out and market you will get immediately get money. It takes time. It takes easily a 3 months time is an average that you need to keep in your hand. So if you feel your money is getting deployed in next 12 months itself, go out and market in 9 months and start looking for your next round. So that will help you sustain on a longer run.
Yeah.
And we have seen, how managing money is also very very important. If What if you get a lot of money and you just start spending like crazy on marketing?
Mhm.
Even that does not work, right? You need to understand, if you're wasting money on marketing also, that people are coming and generating revenue way more than your marketing expenses. If
Right.
that's not happening, then it's not working out. So what I have seen is majorly people start spending like crazy on marketing or hiring people, or withdrawing big salaries, which makes them difficult to sustain on a longer run.
Absolutely. I think this is very insightful as well because, I pretty understand that with more power and with more money actually comes more responsibility as well. So if you
Right.
have got, maybe a couple of $1 million of funding or maybe even 10 lakh rupees of funding, you really have to be very mindful about how and at what times, what stages you are, like why are you utilizing it, you should be knowing about it. I do believe the same. So that is something, I'll make sure that I keep a check for Pharoscion as well. So thanks for that. And if let's say if you could have one superpower, what would it be and how you would utilize it? Would you like to talk about it?
Yeah. So I think I would love to read people's mind.
Oh my god.
For example, if if I
Oh
am
my god, where is the cat? Come on, help
if
it.
so, I would have really enjoyed if I'm interacting with someone, I could, hear their thoughts, like what they are thinking
So now you know
about
what's the
me or
next
about
question.
some other person. Yeah, that would have been really amazing. It could be a good, it could be a bad thing, but yeah, would have been a great experience for sure.
Right. So let's say you have that superpower, and if a startup owner comes to you, hey Arushi, like I really need this funding, and these are my balance sheet as of now, and all those things. But now you're reading their mind as well. So and you realize that they don't have, let's say, the needful potential. For example, how now you're gonna make sure that you politely convince them, like not your company or not this fund particularly, maybe some other fund or something. What will be your strategy?
Yeah, so frankly speaking, my major job task is to tell no to the founders. So
Okay.
if I am looking at 100 startups, easily 85 to 90 startups would be a no. So I have to go out and tell people no. And it's like um, every day I'm pakka saying at least 10 startups no for funding, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So I know how to be polite. I know I try to provide a certain feedback. If I have connected with a founder on a personal level, I try to help in a every way possible. I try to provide a feedback which could help them. If for example, if a startup is very early, I tell them if once you start generating X amount of revenue, I think we can reevaluate it. So go out and start selling your product so we can get a trust on you that your product would work out.
yeah.
So something like that, because at the end of the day a founder is not very greedy for money, but also he wants to understand where is he going wrong, right?
Right.
And how can he be better at it. So I think providing a general feedback could always be helpful. And being said that, if I would have been able to read the mind, I would have also understood that the balance sheet is right, or he have tried to make some numbers here and there. And if that would have been the situation, then I knew how to be smart and tell him, I don't think these numbers are correct. You should go back and check again.
Right,
So
right,
yeah,
right.
that would have been a very good superpower if I had.
Absolutely. And I think this will not only help you, actually maybe this will help other people as well, because they are getting a clear picture of, this is your story, and based on your story, you are getting accepted or you are getting rejected for these many, facts, let's say. Right. So I think that will be very helpful. And I really want, at least for professional purpose, you get that superpower as soon as possible, or maybe from your experience itself, you enrich that, in yourself. So let's say, Arushi, if I talk about maybe 18 years old Arushi, if you'd like to speak now, what one piece of advice would you like to give her so that she can, take care of that particular advice and accordingly grow professionally?
Hmm. So I would have suggested, experiment a little more during initial days itself. If I would have been during my graduation, I would have known about the ecosystem well. I'm pretty sure I would have tried two to three startups, failed at it, and learned from it. But not being that active, I just, really enjoyed my college days. Did not experiment at that moment of time. And I feel if I would have done that earlier, I would have grown much faster. So, yeah.
I understand that is actually very valuable, and a lot of entrepreneurs, the successful ones, have told the similar that I wish I would have started earlier. And I don't want to name a particular startup owner. He started in 26, and then also he said, I wish I would have started a bit earlier. So, like 26 is good, but yes, I understand, people now are starting in 18, 19, and 20 years
Right.
as well. So, yes, I pretty relate with that. So, I have seen a couple of LinkedIn posts as well where you were actually invited as a guest. Would you recently, and that happened recently? Would you like to talk about that as well a bit?
Yeah, so I think being invited at different places and speaking to be it students, be it entrepreneurs, why I like doing it is because whatever I have learned from my experience and from my knowledge, I like sharing it with them, because I feel if it could help anyone out of those 100 peoples also, I would be more than happy. Because I don't know, I have this very generous nature. I would say that I like to help people and do that, and I usually try doing that. Go in colleges, especially in colleges. Recently one of the college invited me to speak to their MBA students, and they wanted me to tell them that, don't go out for jobs, go out for start something of your own. So they
Yeah.
specifically told me design your session in that way that you can motivate them to start up something of their own. So those are things which I really, enjoy doing it, and I feel it's part of my job also. So yeah, that's there. And yeah, I recently also went to Orissa, which was an amazing trip. Been invited there and had a great interaction with couple of startup out there, and it's really good to see that that side of the country is also emerging.
Yeah.
It would take some time, I feel, but yeah, it's really good to see that.
That's really great to hear. And maybe for my viewers, if they would like to connect with you, like, and if for the startup founders and owners as well, if they would like to get in touch, they would like to pitch their idea, how they can connect with you.
You can always reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I will surely revert you within few days time.
Perfect. That is wonderful. Now, a very last question for this interesting interview. Like, as you know, Union Government of India is promoting Vocal for Local, Startup India, Atmanirbhar Bharat campaigns. So, what is your take on that? Because you are too associated and very closely actually associated with this complete startup ecosystem. So, are these campaigns, fruitful? What is take of VC firms like of yours?
Yes, I think these campaigns by government are really fruitful because I'll tell you. Before, if you would look at, let's take an example of mobility sector. Before, if you look at, people used to get the byproducts from China, assemble in India, and sell it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But because of this such campaigns, people in India have started thinking about building in India, making it in India, and selling it in India, right? And which actually leaves them with a thought that how they can do something which has been done abroad, do it similarly, something similar in India also. And it's not like we don't have the capability, we do have it, just we need some thoughts on that. And I feel startups have been helping government in many ways,
Yeah.
not just on the GDP growth part, but also if you look at smart cities, there are many startups working there as well, which are helping, in various sectors, various domains, helping government in scaling and building good technology and bringing that technology in India. And it's not being brought by some other country, but being made in India and being utilized in India.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was really enlightening. And Arushi, your take about us, Pharoscion Global?
Yes, yes, you guys are doing an amazing job, and I feel every startup needs the services that you're trying to provide, be it on the digital marketing domain, be it on the technology part. So, for any startups out there, I would highly recommend Pharoscion Global to, go out and take their help. And as the name itself suggests, you are not just an Indian brand, but a global brand. So, helping brands not only in India, but globally as well. So yeah.
Thank you so much for that. And I'll convey your message to my team as well. We are actually trying our level best to help as many startups and corporate organizations as possible. So that was all. And this is very surprising because the weather was too cloudy, and this whole interview, like sun was like, I'll enlighten. Not only Arushi will enlighten Arushi, but I'll also make sure that I also enlighten you. So it's all brightness everywhere. And I really enjoyed this interview. And I hope that a lot of people have enjoyed it as well. And thank you so much, everybody, for watching this episode. And we shall see you in the very next one. And thank you so much, Arushi, again for joining.
Thank you.
Have a nice day, all. Take care. Bye.